Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. Happy Monday. I'm Trevor Lane. You can find me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane, joined by Keith Smith at Keith Smith NBA. Plenty to talk about today. A lot of injury stuff, but before we dive into it, quick reminder, do subscribe to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. Turn on those notifications as well, and follow the podcast feed over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. You can do both of those things, which would greatly help out the show. Keith, Monday, starting off a new week, and I wish we didn't have so much injury stuff to get into today. I always hate seeing that, but some important things for some big name players here.
Yeah, for sure. Now on the plus side, couple of returns to the lineup for a couple of big names and teams that are fighting for postseason spots. So that's a positive. Hey, did want to say I noticed a couple more people wrote reviews over on the Apple Podcast side. Those are hugely helpful. So if you guys can go in there and write a review, even if it says like these guys are great and that's it, like we'll take it. If you think we stink, you can just tell us that in the comments on the show. We'll look there. But yeah, that is very, very helpful. And it helps people find the podcast version of the show as well when there is a written review attached to the rating. But thank you to everybody who's been going out there and doing that. And channel here on YouTube continues to grow, so that's great too. So super excited about that. And if you sign up and subscribe and hit the notifications, you'll find out when we go live for Front Office Fridays. I don't yell except on Friday. So if you want to know what that's all about, you'll find out this coming Friday, which is a lot of fun that we have doing Front Office Fridays.
That's right. That is our weekly live show. Hopefully you all come join us for that. Let's kick off this show. Let's go with the positive. LeBron returns, surprisingly. Was declared doubtful to play a couple days ago, day before the Lakers match up with the Chicago Bulls, then upgraded to questionable the day of the game, and the next thing you know, he's playing. I mean, this is after the whole situation where the reports were out that he would try to return with a few games left, and he pushed back on Twitter and all that sort of stuff. And then here he is playing with like 8 games left on the Lakers schedule at that point. It didn't look bad, but according to LeBron, he said, he had some interesting comments after the game, said that he had a torn a tendon in his foot, that 2 doctors had said he needed surgery. And then he found the LeBron James of foot doctors who told him that he could do it without surgery and get through it and all that. Maybe he still needs surgery this summer. But Keith, let me throw it to you. I'm going to start calling you the LeBron James of salary cap sheets.
I'll take it. What I was going to say is he should have went to the Michael Jordan of foot doctors, and he might have been back like a week or 2 earlier. So, but I mean, hey, I guess when you settle him for second best,
you're going to start a LeBron MJ debate in our comments, and I am here for none of it.
Yeah, I'm not here for it either. I have no interest in it. Either way, I've been there for basically the totality of both of their careers, and they're both really, really good. Yeah, I mean. I get it. The early return shows to me that LeBron, obviously, unlike what was levied by some, that he only cared about breaking the scoring record and didn't really care what happened this season. That's obviously not true, or he wouldn't be coming back at all this year. So, that says to me he feels the urgency to get back and to come back. I mean, it's unfortunate, with a hurt foot that he didn't grow a couple inches, because then maybe he could have stopped Pat Bev and not been too small in the paint. God. So, but I mean,
Pat Bev is setting himself so well for his post-playing days career. He's executing the plan flawlessly.
Yeah, perfect. Absolutely perfectly. I didn't really understand his spoon and his fork comments. I thought
he gets a lot of traction. That's the whole point of everything he says. Is just get stuff that's going to get people to mention it. Yep. And he's very good at that.
And you know what? Credit where credit is due. He talked some trash before he came in to the game, and he backed it up with
his teammates did. Yes,
his teammates did. But I mean, he made the big shot at the end, so we'll give him that credit there. But yeah, for LeBron, my guess is it sounds like there's a plantar fascia. Man, that was Boston. Fully came out of that on that one. Holy cow. Plantar fascia injury was in there, not plantar fascia. A little punchy here on a Monday.
It's Monday.
it sounds like that's something that it's probably just going to be a matter of can he play through the pain or not for the remainder of whatever this season has entailed for him and the Lakers. And then it's weird because that's an injury where sometimes there's surgery needed, sometimes there's just rest. I know I want to say I remember one of the surgical techniques is it's like they cut it and then let it basically heal itself and come back together. There's not like anything that's necessarily done beyond that. So but that's what is it? They always say minor surgery is one that's being done on someone else, not you. So that's definitely true with that. But my guess is this is probably a pain management thing for him in the rest of the season, and then we'll see what the offseason brings for him to be ready to go or not.
Yeah, and hopefully he's able to get through whatever is left of the Lakers season, and then they can go from there. One player who will not be able to get through the remainder of the season, Damian Lillard, looks like he is going to be shut down. In fact, the Blazers shut down their team effectively for tonight's game against the Pelicans. Pushed the Pelicans to like a 12-point favorite or something going into this one because the Blazers, no Jeremy Grant, no Damian Lillard, no Anthony Simons. They are saying this is it. We're calling it a season, and we'll see you guys next year. So that's and that's not a surprise given where the Blazers are at in the standings, the way things have gone, that they've made this decision. Now, I thought it was interesting. Shams Charania threw out there that he expects the conversations to take place this summer about whether or not Dame is a Blazer next season. I know that's been a conversation for forever, essentially. But I don't know. I just have a hard time seeing either Portland or Dame pulling the trigger to actually have some sort of separation here.
Yeah, same here. I just don't see it. I mean, he's never asked for a trade. They've never shown any interest in a trade. He has an extension that's going to kick in still 3 years from now, before that one even kicks in, where he added a couple more years onto his contract. So beyond this season, this year he makes about $42.5 million. Beyond this season, he is still owed $216 million over the next 4 years. So 45.6, 48.8, 58.5, and 63.2 in the final year. Player option that year, so maybe opts up. Highly doubt it at what his age will be at that point. So, yeah, I mean, as for the Blazers right now, Lillard's apparently been dealing with a calf injury. Anthony Simons had an ankle thing going on. I forget what Jeremy Grant's injury is, but he had been out for prior to all of this, and Nurkic has been dealing with, I also believe it's a calf injury, on and off for a while now too. So I think we're in a position here where, as the dogs come barging in, I think that Portland is looking at it and saying, look, we're not making up the deficit. And we're not going to push our guys, because even to come close, we're going to have to ask our main guys to play 35, 40, 45 minutes a night to try and win these games. And if we're not going to push to win the games, what's the point? So let's just call it what it is. Let's be done and get these guys rested and ready to go. This summer and next season, I don't know. We'll see. Jeremy Grant still remains extension eligible. My guess is that both sides understand where everything is. With that, we'll see if anything goes, with that before we get to the deadline, which he's extension eligible all the way through the 30th of June. So we'll see what happens with that. Or does he hit free agency? Simons, Nurkic obviously signed long-term, but looks like Portland's going to drop into getting another pretty good draft pick. They used a pretty good pick to get Shaedon Sharpe, who he's taking advantage now, at least. We're seeing that while guys are out. He's playing quite well. So that's a plus and a positive. So, we'll kind of see where things go from here.
Yeah, and specifically as far as where they are in the standings, I think the most they can drop, definitely the most they can drop would be one more spot. They are a half a game behind in tanking terms, so they are actually half a game ahead in normal terms, but in tanking terms, they're half a game behind the Orlando Magic right now, and the Magic have won 3 in a row. The Blazers have lost 2 in a row, and with them benching their team essentially, would not shock me if we see Portland finish with the 5th highest lottery odds, taking that spot from the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, because it doesn't seem like the Pacers and Wizards are fully done making a run yet. Now, they're 3.5 games behind Chicago, so it's starting to they're actually both only a game up on Orlando now, as Orlando's been winning here over the last couple of days, as you said, or last week, I guess is a better way to put that. So it kind of feels like that's just about done in the East. Still lots of seeding to be determined in the East, but it seems like we might have our 10 teams now locked in. So that's one where if you're not making up ground by the middle of this week, we could see the Pacers and Wizards take a different turn this season.
Mm-hmm.
Wizards may be kind of already doing it. They're sitting Bradley Beal and Kyle Kuzma's been out. Now they have legitimate injuries. I don't think any of these guys are just shutting down fully healthy players. I think it's certainly a case of, hey, if we were fighting for a top 6 seed, these guys would be playing. But all these guys are dealing with stuff. So I'm not going to say these are full-on tank moves, but I think we're starting to see more teams on both conferences say, all right, let's call it what it is. We're probably not making up the ground. Well, let's move on.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. That's what's happening. And this is typical for this time of year where teams just say, you know what, we understand where we're at, and let's start focusing on other places and not put any of our veterans at risk or anything. And, let's go have a good offseason. The Warriors, this was kind of a big deal, but the Warriors have announced that they won't pursue compensation after all for Gary Payton II. There were issues there. It ended up being a 4-team trade, but it was a trade between the Blazers and the Warriors. But particularly to land Gary Payton II back with Golden State. But there was some concern that maybe the Blazers weren't super forthcoming about his injury status and what that would mean and all of that. And now, as the dust has settled, the Warriors, they're not going to try to get anything extra out of the Blazers, and everybody is just going to move on, which is probably for the best, but the potential sure was there for this to get very, very messy given how many teams were involved and the fact that this was a deadline deal, which means if any part of it got undone, the whole thing falls apart and a bunch of players would have to go back to their original teams.
Yeah, and Portland had made other moves that were kind of, at least let's say, semi-contingent on this move happening and all that stuff. So that's why, thankfully, everybody kind of got together and said, hey, let's not do this. My guess is this is probably a combination of the Warriors getting notice from the league of like, hey, we're not taking a pick away from Portland for this. It doesn't seem like this was completely out of bounds on what happened with this. And Payton is now back. He played over the weekend. I think it was last night, maybe, that he made his re-debut for the Warriors. And it seems like he's going to be good to go for the rest of the season. So, I think the Warriors are, hey, we're happy. We made the trade to get GP2. He's back. He's playing. That's enough for us. Let's all move on.
All right. Another player who is out. Unfortunately. Why? Why do we have to do this? We were going to get to see Embiid versus Jokic tonight. Joel Embiid will be out for the 76ers matchup with the Denver Nuggets. How legit is this, do you think? Because I've seen people saying, well, this is because Embiid is in the lead in terms of the MVP voting right now. And so just like the top draft prospect isn't going to work out against the number 2 draft prospect because they can't help them at all, then maybe Embiid doesn't want to go against Jokic and risk that MVP. I would hope that's not the case, but do you think that's plausible at all here?
I mean, it's the NBA in 2023, so I guess I don't know. I mean, people look for crazy conspiracy theories and everything. Nothing can just be a thing, right? Like there's always going to be some, underhanded, villainous plot to why these things are happening. And Embiid very openly said, I want to say it was maybe the middle of last week when they were talking about James Harden was out, PJ Tucker had been out, and he said, yeah, I'm going to need a day off here too pretty soon. I'm feeling pretty worn down. This is the most I've played this late into a season and all those things. And then he went on to say like, hey, look, we get it. We got to keep winning games, but I want to be ready for the playoffs. And he was also very honest about, I haven't always been at my best late in seasons and at the start of playoffs. So I think what we're seeing here in this situation with him is we're kind of in a spot where, all right, well, what's happening now with Embiid is he's dealing with a calf thing that held him out the other night. And my guess is the 76ers are, all right, you know what? We're 2.5 behind Boston now, which is really more like 3.5. Let's just call it what it is. Maybe we're not going to run the Celtics down for that 2 seed. I know they were ahead of them about a week or so ago, but it was 5 percentage points. But my guess is this is probably a spot where it's, this is the best bet is just let him sit it out, rest, and then we'll get back to it and we'll figure it out from there. So that's just my guess. I mean, I don't think there is any sense of, well, we got to hold him out, because I don't know that it's that fully decided for anybody in the MVP vote yet. I mean, I saw some stuff after Jokic and the Nuggets beat the Bucks that, well, maybe Jokic is back in front. So I think a lot of people are going to take this thing all the way down to the end of the season. Who loses, though? It's all of us, right? Because that was going to be a really fun game to watch later tonight on Monday night, and now it isn't. And that's kind of a bummer there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just it. Like, we don't get to see what was going to be a much anticipated matchup. And so that's certainly unfortunate that we don't get that, regardless of what the reasoning is. Hopefully it does mean you'll see a healthier Embiid come playoff time. But yeah, for, kind of a end of the season Monday night would have got a nice shot in the arm from Embiid versus Jokic. But
yeah,
unfortunately not going to happen.
Yeah, and it's not a super great slate otherwise. The early games are kind of crappy, and it's, I guess Luke is in there for Mavs Pacers, so that's a little bit better than it could have been. But the big thing now for me is, what do you think, Trevor? Do we get to the end of the night and are the Sacramento Kings playoff drought over? Are we there? Are they going to get, because it's either they win, the Suns lose, or the Clippers lose. Any one of those three things puts them in the playoffs.
I'm going to say I would favor the Suns to beat the Jazz. I would favor the Clippers to beat the Bulls on the second night of a back-to-back, which I'm sure the Bulls are going to shoot like 31% from the field after going berserk yesterday, because of course. And I'm going to Minnesota and Sacramento is such a toss-up. I'll say Sacramento gets the win over Minnesota. Minnesota on a back-to-back. Yep. Yeah, I'll say Sacramento, but I'm going to say Sacramento does it themselves. I'm going to say they get the win to punch their ticket.
I think so too, and that's the way you want it to be, right? Like I want to see them win. They do their whole, they light the beam, and I don't know if they've got some special giant beam for it being the playoff clinching win or whatever, but let's go. I mean, it's going to be so cool. And it's funny because I commented on this the other night when it was like, it'll be cooler to see Sacramento just clinch themselves than to backdoor their way in by another team losing. And the number of people were like, who cares, man? They're just going to lose in the first round. If all we care about is the team that wins at the very end, we've lost all enjoyment and plot here. Like, it's like we're gone. Like then you're gonna. I don't know how anybody likes the sport if it only matters which team wins. Like the Kings breaking what will be 16, 17-year playoff drought. If that's not something that they should get excited about and go absolutely crazy about, I don't know what you're watching the sport for, right? Like this should be an absolute blast tonight.
It should be. It absolutely should. And if they get to light the beam and all that, absolutely should celebrate. And otherwise, I mean, one team every year gets to feel good. Like I don't think that's realistic, right?
No, and that's not how it works, right? I mean, we should be in a spot where that's why we get that's why I'm not against the whole in-season tournament thing, because if some team can come away feeling like, hey, we won that, and that was a good accomplishment for us. It's going to take a few years for that to become a real thing and people to really care about it. But once they do, they will, and it'll become, anytime people are competing for anything, it becomes a thing that you want to win, right? Like it'll be like, well, hey, we can win that. So I'm and then we'll start getting things much like in European soccer, where it'll be like, oh man, the Kings pulled off the double. They won the in-season tournament and the NBA finals and those kind of things. You'll get all that sort of stuff too. And it'll be, this guy pulled off the triple, the regular season MVP, finals MVP, and the in-season tournament MVP or whatever. So I'm all for it. More things we can celebrate and have fun with, the better. Like it's we don't need to hate on everything just because they didn't win a title, so it doesn't matter. Like that's just not how it works, and that's not. You shouldn't enjoy more, like be happy more, just in general, I guess.
Come on, Keith, it's all about rings with a Z, right?
Many Z's.
Yes, that's right. Celebrate good times. Come on. Daquan Jeffries gets a multi-year deal with the Knicks. He got a couple of 10-day contracts, but hadn't actually stepped onto the floor. But he will get a multi-year deal. Now, I'd have to imagine that most of these years are non-guaranteed, and that's what the Knicks are doing here.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a 2-year deal for Jeffries. This year, he got some of the Knicks still had their full room exception left, so he got a rather good chunk of what was left of the room exception, prorated, obviously. So he got that, and then in exchange for that, he put a non-guaranteed second season. Agreed to a non-guaranteed second season, and then that just gives the Knicks some flexibility. So if they want to move him or get out of the contract early, they can. But he's become a favorite of Tom Thibodeau. They had him on a 2-way. They had him on a couple 10 days, and now they're keeping him around at the end of the year. So just, good work by them to get a guy in who seems like he's well liked, probably a pretty good practice guy, because Lord knows if you're not in the top 8, 9, you do not get into games in New York, even sometimes in blowouts. With that, so really, really kind of interested. I'm very curious to see beyond obviously the Jeffries stuff, what happens with the Knicks now, because they've lost 3 in a row. They're not catching the Cavs. That's over. So they're going to be now. Their goal is holding off Brooklyn and Miami and staying in the top 6. They're only a couple games ahead of those 2 teams. And they had a whole string of issues, including a game here in Orlando where Julius Randle was seen yelling at teammates and coaches and officials and everybody else. And he was basically like, hey, it's all fine. It's just stuff that happens in the course of a season. But things are, we went through a period where it's like, man, things are everything's rosy in New York, and this is great. And now we're all of a sudden in a spot where things don't look so hot anymore. So I'll be curious to watch them down the stretch here of the regular season. Yeah,
definitely something to keep an eye on. It seemed like they were going to be one of the feel-good teams to finish out the season, and then things kind of went off the rails from there. But, I mean, look, winning cures all. If they go on a little win streak here to head into the playoffs, they can certainly get some of that momentum back. But, again, it's going to take winning some games, and it's going to take kind of reversing course from the way things have been recently for the Knicks. All right, Keith, that wraps things up today. I got a tidy little show in today. That's right. That's right. All right. Everybody, make sure you are subscribing both at the podcast platforms over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is you listen to podcasts, as well as the YouTube channel. Until next time, everybody, we'll see you tomorrow. Stay safe and see ya.